All right, this is your review for your ratios quiz. I'm going to go through each of the questions and go over all the answers. If you missed any questions and are making corrections, write down all of the steps and the answers that go along with them. Staple your corrections to the back of your quiz and turn it into the class tray. And talk to me if you need to make a retake. Number 1. Donald's Donuts make both chocolate and plain glazed donuts. Each Saturday, they make 13 plain glazed donuts for every 7 chocolate glazed donuts. What is the ratio of chocolate glazed to plain glazed? Okay, chocolate to glazed. Chocolate to plain, sorry. Order matters. So, chocolate comes first, so I look for my chocolate number and it's 7. So our ratio is going to be 7 when our plain number is 13. So our ratio is 7 to 13. Number 2, if the pattern below was tripled, what would the ratio of black squares to gray squares? So black to gray. I have 1 black square and I have 2 gray squares. And if I'm tripling something, that means times 3. So I'm going to take my ratio, which is 1 to 2, and I'm going to multiply each of the numbers by 3 to triple it and make my new ratio. 1 times 3 equals 3, 2 times 3 equals 6. And you can turn it back into the other version with a colon. So the answer was 3 to 6. That's your final answer. Number 3. Copy Central prints grayscale and colored copies. Grayscale and colored copies. Yesterday, they printed 9 gray copies for every 2 colored copies. If they printed 20 color copies, then how many grayscale copies were printed? So I'm going to set up my proportions. Want them to be equal. So I need to figure out how do I go from here to there. I'm going to multiply by 10. So to go from 9 to find how many new gray copies I made, we also have to multiply by 10. So 9 times 10 equals 90. So there were 90 grayscale copies. Number 4. At a local daycare, there is a ratio of 2 caretakers for every children. Caretakers are just adults. So I'm going to put A. Adults versus children. Okay? If there are 7 kids, there are 2 adults. If there are 189 children, how many people are at the daycare facility? Well, this problem is just a little bit different. Okay, we're going to set up our proportions. And yeah, we're going to solve for it to figure out how many adults there would be if there were 189 kids. But then the question asked, how many people are at the daycare facility? So we'll have to take the new number of adults plus the 189 children to figure out our total. Okay, so step 1, figuring out how to go from 7 to 189. You can do guess and check and just pick a number and multiply it by 7 and see where that gets you. The other way you can do it is divide. So we could do 189 divided by 7. 7 does not fit into 1. 7 fits into 18 2 times. 7 times 2 is 14. Subtract. We're left with 4. Drop our next number, which is our 9. How many 7s make a 49? 7. 7 times 7 is 49. Left with nothing. So 7 times 27 gives us 189. Okay? In order for these to be equivalent, we have to multiply 2 times 27 when you do 27 times 2, you end up getting 54. So there are 54 adults if there are 189 children. So now to figure out how many people are in the daycare facility, we need to do 189 plus the 54 adults. 9 plus 4 is 13. 13 plus 1 is 14. Carry the 1. 2. There are 243 people in that building. A lot of people. Alright, number 5 and 6. Determine if the ratios are equivalent. Alright, one of the things that I like to do, I'll do it in this problem, and then I'll do it the other way in the next one. I like to turn my, scary. I like to turn my ratios into fractions. So 12 to 16 versus 72 to 96. So we have to decide if these are equal or not. If they're equal, that means we can multiply the left number times the same thing to get the right number. Okay? So I know that 12 times 6 is 72. So if I were to multiply 16 times 6 and get 96, then the ratios are equivalent. If 16 times 6 doesn't equal 96, then they are not equivalent. Okay, so let's see, because 16 times 6 is not a regular problem that we solve. 6 times 6 is 36. 6 carry the 3. 6 times 1 is 6. 6 plus 1 is 3. It is 96. So we can take both of the numbers on the left, multiply them both by 6, and get the numbers on the right. So yes, these are equivalent. And the scale factor, what we're multiplying by to get the right side, is 6. Alright. And then other times, I just like to draw an arrow, first number to the other first number. And I'm like, how do I go from 20 to 80? Well, 20 times 4 equals 80. So if 14 times 4 equals 56, then these are equivalent. If 14 times 4 doesn't equal 56, they are not. So 14 times 4. 4 times 4 is 16. Carry the 1. 4 times 1 is 4. 4 plus 1 is 5. It is. So they are equivalent. Yes. Equivalent ratios. And the scale factor, what we would multiply the first ratio by to get the second ratio, is 4. Number 7. A large community college has professors and lecturers. The total number of faculty members is 136. The school reported that they have 6 professors for every 11 lecturers. So I've got professors at this college, I've got lecturers, and then we'll have a total. How many professors does the community college employ? So when I explained this in class and during our review before the quiz, I like to tell everybody that when we're looking at problems like this, we need to think about the math department versus the whole school. Okay, so it says the total number of faculty members at the college is 136. So that's like the whole thing. Okay, but then they get a little more specific and talk about how the school reported that they have 6 professors for every 11 lecturers. So to make this make a little bit more sense, we're just going to say this is the math department versus the whole building. Okay, so in the math department, we'll say we have 6 teachers plus 11 more different teachers, and we got 17 teachers in the math department. Okay, so now we have to figure out, how do I go from 17 to 136? Whatever we're multiplying by is the same thing we're going to multiply to figure out how many professors there are in the whole building, the whole community college. And then you would also do the same thing to figure out how many lectures there are. But the question asks specifically for how many professors there are. So if you do guess and check multiple times, we know that 17 times 8 equals 136. You would know that 17 times 10 is 170, and that's too big because we're looking to get 136. So you knew it was a single digit number, so you could just guess and check 8, 9, 7, 6, whatever. But when you do 17 times 8, you end up getting 136. So that means to go from the top row to the bottom row, we have to multiply those numbers by 8. So 6 times 8, which is our scale factor, means that the whole college has 48 professors. Okay, so that's what I was looking for, 48 professors. If you solved for lecturers, it would have been 88 for L. Okay, but the question asked for this, so this was the quiz answer that you need. All right, to make a cleaning solution, George mixes 3 cups of water to 4 drops of cleaner. Which table best represents the ratio of cleaning solution? All right, so water to cleaner drops. Okay. So, in order for this ratio to make sense, it has to be a consistent pattern. So, if we're putting in 3 cups of water and 4 drops of cleaner, I need to be going up by 3s, and I need to be going up by 4s. So, 3 to 6, that's plus 3. Is 6 plus 3 12? Nope. That pattern went bad, so A is out. All right, B. We started with 3 and 4. So 3 to 6 is plus 3. 6 plus 3 is 9. 9 plus 3 is 12. 12 plus 3 is 15. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. That's perfect. That's great. That's what we need. Okay, B is your answer. C doesn't work if you put C, because we should have started with 3 for water and 4 for drops. And it looks like they already swapped them. So, big bad. No good. C's out. And then D isn't going up by a consistent pattern. They added 8, they added 4, they added 8, 6, 6, 6. But this part's bad, the bottom row. That makes no sense. So D's out. So the answer to number 8 was B. All right, number 9. The table below shows the number of children, C, to each child care worker, W. Based on the info in the table, which of the following statements is not correct? A lot of people miss the word not. Don't miss that. It's important. All right, so 3 of these statements are accurate, and 1 of these statements is wrong, and we want that wrong statement. So the first thing I'm going to do is look at this table. I see children to the workers, so I'm going to write off to the side my little ratio, children to workers. I'm looking at this top row because it has the smallest numbers and they're easy to work with. 8 to 2. They're both even, so you can simplify. Okay, we need to simplify those. So, since they're both even, we can split them both in half. Half of 8 is 4, and half of 2 is 1. Okay, so for every 1 worker, there are 4 children. All right, remember that. Important. So, letter A says the ratio of children to child workers is 4 to 1. I literally just solved that. So that is a good, correct statement, which means it's wrong because we want the bad statement. If there were 32 children, then there would be 8 workers. So if there were 32 kids, that means we would go times 8 times 8. Oh, those are our 2 numbers. So that's also good. So that's gone. If there were 5 workers, then there would be 20 children. So they did times 5. Times 5. Yep. So that's good. So that's out. So then let's just double check that D is bad. The ratio of childcare workers to children is 4 to 1. We said it was children to workers was 4 to 1. D says that it's workers to children, which is 4 to 1. So they changed the order, which is bad. We don't switch the order. So that's our correct answer, D. All right, last one, number 10. Number 10 was a little bit confusing, and I actually explained it and tried to help out on this one. So if you missed it, I'm sorry that you still missed it, but finish going over it with me. So, 2 assembly lines are working to produce medical supply kits. According to the ratio tables below, which statement is true after a cumulative of 15 hours have passed? So, that's saying Company A has to work for 15 hours, which means we have to continue the pattern and figure out how many medical supply kits they can make. Company B is already there. We have 15 hours for them and how many medical supply kits they made. So, first of all, we don't even know, based on this table, how many kits Company A can make in 1 hour. So, I saw this and thought, if there are 3 hours and I can make 75 kits, that sounds like quarters for money. If you have 3 quarters, you have 75 cents, which means with 1 quarter, which would be our 1 hour, we can make 25 kits. Okay, so I had to figure that out first, what my ratio was, simplified. Okay, but now, how do I go from 1 to 15? Well, I'm going to multiply by 15. Well, so then you have to do the same thing, 25 times 15, to figure out how many kits Company A can make. So when you do 25 times 15 and solve it, you end up getting 375 kits. Okay, so then if you look at your answer options, A, B, and C, it's asking which company made more, Company A or Company B. So we're comparing these two numbers, 435 versus 375. And then we're trying to figure out what was the difference between those two numbers. Which company made more and how many more? Well, I can obviously see that 435 is bigger than 375. So Company B produced more kits, which means A is out, because A is the only option that says Company A made more. So Company B made more. We just have to decide whether they made 147 more or 60 more. So you could do 435 minus 375. 5 minus 5 is 0. Can't do 3 minus 7, so you got to regroup. 13 minus 7 is 6. 3 minus 3 is 0. So the answer is C. Company B made more. They were able to make 60 more kits than Company A.